All right, what do people say about Toyota Priuses? They're ugly and slow. Well, they did them over in 2023, as I'm going to show you with this model, and it might change your mind a little. Now, there's no way you can call this thing ugly. It is a sharp-looking car. Okay, the old ones are ugly. There's no arguing that, but look. I mean, there's the ugly one. Just look at this. I mean, it really made them sharp looking. Okay, so they're not ugly. Well, slow, okay. Last year's model, 2022, granted, it only had like 121 horsepower. Yeah, you know, it's electric horsepower partly, so the torque is a little bit different, but this isn't 121 horsepower. This is an all-wheel drive version. It's 196 horsepower. It is almost 200 horsepower. We'll find out when we drive it around. But through the miracle of Toyota engineering, he can get 48 miles a gallon on the highway and even better in town. So they figured out how to get more horsepower and still get great gas mileage. And if you know anything about Toyota Priuses, they've been making these things over 20 years. If anybody has hybrid cars down, it's Toyota. Eventually things go bad. Of course, the batteries will wear out. From my experience with the Priuses, the earliest I ever saw a Prius battery go out was like 225,000 miles. You can't really argue with that, right? And I've seen them go further. Plus, there's so many of them out there, you can get aftermarket batteries that are a lot cheaper if it does finally go out. And for example, this one's got a 10-year warranty on the battery. Most things you're not getting a 10-year warranty on, right? Toyota pretty much knows what they're doing when they make hybrid cars. That's why they made the smart bet. They put their money in hybrids. Now all these companies, GM, Ford, that are throwing billions into electric cars, well, they're all kind of scratching their heads now going, oh gee, just the other day, almost 50% of the Ford dealerships said, we are not going to sell electric cars. They don't want to sell them because they got to invest over $500,000 at each dealership, right? And a bunch of car companies are doing that. First they said, please don't send any more electric cars until we sell the ones we have because nobody wants them. And now they're saying, please don't ever send us any electric cars. We don't want to sell them. Well, guess what? These things are selling like hotcakes. And of course, you're talking about Toyota hybrids. You're not talking about Ford, GM, Chrysler hybrids, which I do have to say personally, from my experience working on them, are often rolling piles of junk. These things aren't rolling piles of junk. So not only are you getting a better vehicle, one that's been made for over 2 decades, you've got Toyota quality instead of really iffy GM or Ford or Chrysler quality. Well, the owner just told me before this he had a Ford Escape hybrid. The engine was knocking on him. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up, you know? I mean, I'm just telling you the truth about cars, and I just have to laugh because I'm not buying them. Other people, and he's even laughing because he got rid of the stupid thing, right? And bought something that odds are is not going to fall apart like that Ford did. The Atkinson cycle engine, in this case, it's a 2-liter engine, so it's a decent sized engine. It's a more horsepower. And it's got the usual hybrid electric system hooked up to it to give it boost, to regenerate energy. It's a dual cooling systems, one for the electric system, one for the engine. And as you can see, it is the modern version. One of the reasons it gets the better gas mileage is it's got a high pressure fuel pump. So this thing has, interestingly enough, regular fuel injection system and a high pressure fuel system. So we'll take a look inside. Let's do the door. Nice solid door. Here we go. Now we got the key. We'll turn it on. Here comes the main screen. And look, the main screen's better designed. It's not blocking anything. It's big enough, but it's low enough that it doesn't block anything at all. Show the energy flow, everything you want. Now, it's got this nice full carbon fiber. That looks nice. And look, I like it because it's like a regular car. Anybody can do it. And you can run in EV mode too if you want. Of course, by law, it's got to make a sound. There's the sound. Now, for the life of me, I don't understand why they don't have a universal sound. This is different than other cars. You're going to have to memorize every car and every noise that it makes because they all make different noises. A regular car sounds like a motor, right? You know it's a car. But all these things make so many different noises, you're going to have to memorize which car makes which noise. Is that a car? Is that a guy with a stereo going? What is it? Hey, I mean, if they're going to have electric type cars, they should at least standardize the noise that they make. And certainly not have it custom customizable for you, the driver. I mean, what, you're going to have it play Van Halen Panama or something? But unlike some of the crazy electric cars, check this out. It's got a regular dash, too. So you're used to driving with a regular car. You're looking at what you normally see. This is extra here. You don't have to look over there. You can look here, and you're not being distracted by having to look over here. You're looking right in front like you normally do. And being a hybrid's got all kinds of electric supplies to it. You can turn the traction control off if you want. Of course, it's an electric car, so it's got electric parking brake too. I mean, that's just the way it's going to go. Fancy version, so it's got a sunroof, and as you can see in the back seats have a reasonable amount of space. And look, the back looks cool now. It's no longer an ugly car, like I said before. He says he's got a lot of crap in here. Boy, he must be pretty anal, because it looks clean to me. I don't know what he's talking about. You got a reasonable size here, and of course, when you flip them down, it's basically like a hatchback. You can fit a lot of stuff into if you need to. It's pretty sharp looking. I mean, it's really got something going for it. Let's take it for a spin. Nice, wide, panoramic backup camera. You can see quite well, because to me, it sounds like a regular car where something's falling apart. I would have made a different sound myself, but hey, beggars can't be choosers, right? We're just road testing it. Of course, it's super quiet because it's a hybrid. Now the motor kicked in, and it's not particularly loud. They definitely improved the handling, too. We'll go too fast around this curb, and hey, there's no tires squealing or anything. It just handles like a dream. We're going to take it to our little drag strip and see what this 196 horsepower can do. I went over 30, and what did it do? It turned orange. Let's check that out again. See, now it's orange. It's warning me I'm driving too fast. I don't know if I like that, though. Here we go to our little drag strip, and we'll see what this 196 horsepower can do. Nobody to the left, nobody to the right. Here we go. We'll get up to the top of the hill. Now realize, of course, it still has an electronic CVT transmission. I'm not a big fan of that, but of course all the Priuses are that way. They've always been that way. They've always been CVT. They're electronic CVTs, which are a lot more sophisticated, but they're still CVTs. So, there's nobody behind us. Let's give it the gas and see what happens. It's not the old slow Prius. You can see, gets up and going. We are going 62 pretty quick. Not a race car, but I mean, hey. And let's say you're going 50 or so, and you got to pass somebody before it. It's picking up pretty quick, as you can see. It's not like the old Priuses. I gotta say, there's very little wind noise in this thing. It's pretty quiet. The old ones tended to be pretty noisy. When I road tested the old Priuses, my wife took one to a trip to Galveston. She hated it. She said, don't get me one of those. They're too noisy. She would not complain about this. It's much quieter. Warning us, we're going over the speed limit. No one knows why the speed limit on this road is 35. It's a straight road to nowhere. It's not the restricted view that Priuses used to have. They've got a better window system than they used to have. That's for sure. I don't see any particular blind spots. It's better designed than the old one. Whee! Hey, it started to burn a little rubber there before the traction control took over. So definitely not the old, slow, ugly Prius by any stretch of the imagination. Now, if only they could build one with a regular automatic transmission with gears or a manual transmission, then this thing would be a real screamer, but I doubt if they'll ever do that because they're pretty tied into this electronic CVT design. But now I know why I don't like that noise, because it sounds like a worn out wheel bearing rotating. I don't like it. As a mechanic, it annoys me. It makes me think the wheel bearings are worn out. I would have picked a different sound. A Toyota Prius that is not ugly and it's not slow. And the only thing bad I got to say is I don't like the sound it makes when it's running on electricity, because to me, it sounds like a wheel bearing going bad, and that destroys my mechanic's peace of mind. I would have rather had something like, I'm not a Hyundai fan, but their electric cars kind of hum like a bunch of angels. That's okay. This sounds too much like a wheel bearing going bad. I would change that sound. But other than that, phenomenal gas mileage, beautiful looking car. Hey, you want to get a hybrid, this is the baby of all hybrids, and now it's grown up. It isn't a baby anymore, but it still gets phenomenal gas mileage, probably will run forever, only now it rides better, has more horsepower, and it really looks good. It's not like those old, ugly ones. They finally join the 21st century, put some style into it, and hey, I can guarantee you, they're going to be selling the heck out of these things. People are going to go more and more towards hybrids, as even the American car manufacturers are realizing, uh-oh, people don't want to buy these all-electric cars. Let's start making hybrids. But then, of course, Ford, then they find out, oh, gee, we can't get enough hybrid batteries for our Mavericks we're making in Mexico. And originally, the standard Maverick was made in Mexico with a hybrid system. Now it's an option because they couldn't get enough batteries. So they're making more of them non-hybrid because they couldn't have enough batteries. But that's typical for Ford. Farley, they should have fired him years ago. Find somebody who really knows how to manage business. Toyota knows how to manage business, and this is what they have. Years of refining instead of years of, how can we make it cheaper? I got an idea. Let's make them in Mexico instead of the United States. Well, made in Japan, that's what you want. He had to call all around to get it at MSRP, but he did, so he paid like $36,000 for this car. That's 10 grand cheaper than the average car, and this is not an average car by any stretch of the imagination. Some people hate hybrids, some people love them. If you're thinking about it, my advice is road test one of these first. A 2022 CX-5 Mazda, you gotta say, they're beautiful looking vehicles. Mazda's got the style down pat. And this is CX-5 all-wheel drive, but it is a Skyactiv turbo. On the other hand, it's made in Japan, which is what you want. Now, the owner was thinking about getting a CX-30, but he went to the bigger one because he saw that one was made in Mexico. This is made in Japan. And that is a smart move. You get a Japanese car made in Japan, they are always better, especially better than stuff that's made in Mexico. Now, Mazda and Toyota are making cars in Alabama on the same assembly line, and I haven't seen any problems with that. But personally, I'd stay away from cars made in Mexico. So far, he's got 25,000 miles, and the only problem he had, the infotainment system went a little wacky. He reset it, and then it worked. But other than that, he's had no problems at all. So look under the hood, Skyactiv G Turbo. Like I say, I'm not a turbo fan, and there goes the stupid beauty cover in the snow. There it goes. Mazda makes pretty good engines, right? This is the Skyactiv Turbo, very complex system. So far, he's had not a lick of problem with it. I haven't seen any particular problems. Now, if you drive it conservatively, he gets 27 on the highway. But he says it's more 22, 23 when he gets on it because he likes driving it fast. And considering it's a nice, spacious car and it is all-wheel drive, that's what you're going to get in the real world. Don't listen to any of this crap about, oh, turbos get better gas mileage. Now, they do have more power. Yes, but realize when they do the gas mileage testing, it's a load of baloney. They run them on dynos and stuff, and the turbo's going at one speed, right? When a human being, especially a man like this who likes to drive fast, gets in one of these, whoop, it's pedal to the metal, the turbo kicks in, it revs higher, and consequently, you get a lot worse gas mileage than what they're rated for. His is real, and that's what you're gonna get if you're a normal or hard driver with one of these things. We've got all kinds of electronics for the Skyactiv system. It really is a marvel of engineering. Mazda's pretty smart. Look, they tell you to use 5W30. So I really think their engineers know what they're doing, because with the turbo, it needs better lubrication. A lot of the modern cars are going to 0.20, 0.10. Now, they realize that the system needs lubrication for the turbo that's spinning real fast, so they're not using the super lightweight oil. And I think that was a smart move on Mazda's behalf. Mazda's got some excellent engineers. Percentage of them's owned by Toyota now. And as far as I'm concerned, Mazdas have gone way up in quality compared to what they were making decades ago. Where Honda, I see, is starting to go downhill, Mazda's actually going uphill. Now, this has an actual 6-speed automatic transmission with gears, which is one of the reasons he bought it. He's like me. We both hate CVTs because they just don't feel right. I mean, it's gotten to the point that if you look at any of the modern ones, they have fake shift points where it feels like they're shifting. They don't have any gears to shift with, but they're faking it because they know people don't like the way he said, let's try had to redesign it. This is an actual 6-speed, a proven transmission, gets decent gas mileage, but is a joy to drive. So you're getting a car that is fun to drive. He's happy that he didn't get the smaller one, even though he had to pay more for this. A lot of times, if you balance what you want versus what you get, a lot of times you're better off paying a little bit more. This thing's made in Japan. It'll outlast the stuff made in Mexico by far. Now, all that said, the owner just told me it was a compromise vehicle because he wanted a real sporty one, right? And she wanted a real practical one. Well, I do have to say, they found a perfect compromise because it's very practical, but it's also sporty. You'll see when we take it for a road test. They're very sporty vehicles, like most Mazdas are. Their zoom zoom isn't just a slogan. They are pretty zippy cars. Now, his previous vehicle was a Ford Escape, and he was really furious at it because he found it kept getting water inside the car. Took it to Ford. They said, oh, we can't find anything wrong. So he takes it to an independent garage, and they explain, well, they didn't really weld the roofs right, so they leak and water gets in, and Ford isn't having anything to do with fixing them free because, of course, it would cost them a fortune. They would have to tear the whole inside of the car off and the roof. They'd have to re-weld it, and then they'd have to put it all back together again. So he said, to heck with that, and he did get lucky because he got rid of it during the pandemic, and the prices were so insane. He got rid of it for what he paid for it. So he paid 40 grand for this, which is 5 grand less than the average car at the time. We'll stick my fancy computer on it, see what's going on. I'm sure there's nothing wrong with it, but hey, you never know. Well, here we go. We got it all set up. We're gonna do a standalone diagnosis. Shouldn't take long. Read the VIN already. It is a pretty new car after all. Got a lot of high tech. Knows it's a CX-5, 2.5 liter automatic, nice sized engine, all-wheel drive. Okay, whole topology scan. So here we go. Now while it's scanning, let's look around. All kinds of controls on your steering wheel. Nice sporty steering wheel, and it is a 6-speed automatic, which you can also shift manually. Got the cute little paddle shifters if you want to shift it yourself. It does have the electric parking brake. I don't like them, but they all come with them these days. Nice sunroof, good controls. Okay, now strangely enough, there's 7 trouble codes. So let's start out and see what's going on. The instrument cluster. Trouble code is low tire pressure. Well, that's bizarre. He did say the instrument panel got a little bit odd, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to erase that code. Well, that's gone, so it says it has ABS code. That's probably going to be another tire pressure code. And it says there's a problem with the steering wheel position sensor. Now, he hasn't had any problem with it, so now while we're driving, so for the time being, we'll erase that code too. A PCM code, so let's check that out. Brake pedal position, accelerator pedal position, incompatible. We're really getting some weird ones here. So I'll erase that one too. Now, he still has the original battery. A lot of them might be related to that, so we're going to test that before we take it for a road test, after I look at all this data. There's another code for the Smart Start unit. Maybe it isn't as smart as it thinks it is. Now, realize this vehicle doesn't have that stupid start-stop system. He didn't like it. He didn't want a car with that, so he bought one that doesn't have that in it. And I agree. Wears out an engine starting and stopping it all the time. Anti-theft system transmitter has a problem, but it's always started for him. He hadn't had a problem, so we'll erase that one. And we'll check. Here's some more codes here. Forward sensing camera. I see those things have a problem all the time. Probably a thing that says that dirt on it or something. And it has codes for the vision system camera on it. Performance or incorrect operation. Performance. They do get dirty. You gotta clean those cameras on the front of the car every once in a while. All right, we'll look at the last one. Smart brake support. Radar cruise control. Software incompatibility with vehicle dynamics control module. Boy, that's a mouthful for you. He could go get it reprogrammed if he wanted to. So let's start her up. We'll look at some live data. Look at some general data here. Variable valve time is normal. No misfires. Running like a clock. And the Lambda ratio is 1, which is what you want. That's perfect. The owner just told me he thinks some of his other codes came because his adaptive cruise control, in a snowstorm, and everything got covered up, and it said it's not working and such. So me resetting it now will probably fix most of it. We'll look at the rest of the data. The equivalence ratio, look, it's 1. It's perfect. Car's running perfect. So before I take it for a road test, let's check out the battery. So we'll check the old battery out here. Hook up the tester. Get it on nice and tight. Gotta make sure they're on tight or you'll get a false reading. We do battery capacity. Battery. 550. And we'll see what it says. Okay, it's a good battery. The state of charge is 100%. He drove here from Kentucky, so it's fully charged. And the state of health is 70%. It's lost like almost 100 cold cranking, but that's still 70%, so it's okay. A lot of that stuff probably was because he was in a snowstorm with things. things. Added air to the tires at some point in time. It had a low pressure on the tire, which it doesn't have now. And we can see it's got a pretty good backup camera here. You can really see quite well. So I won't hit my neighbor's mailbox there. Very quiet engine. You're reasonably high up in the air so you can see what you're doing. And since it's all-wheel drive, we don't have to worry about the snow, do we? Whee! 6 speeds. Shifts like a dream. And you can see, if you can see what I'm looking at, it does have a heads up so we can see how fast you're going. Even though it's bright outside, I see it's doing 14, 15, 16. Now it's against the road. You can see it a little better probably. Brakes are nicely proportioned. So we'll take it to our little drag strip here. There's nobody behind us. So we'll come to a stop. This is all-wheel drive, so it's not going to burn any rubber. It tried to. Nice crisp acceleration, nice quiet ride. It's definitely much of an improvement over the smaller Mazda. It's made in Japan, the other one's made in Mexico. And then when you got to accelerate to pass somebody, you floor it. You can see it's picking up nicely. It's got some nice acceleration with that turbo. Mind you, it'll wear things out a little bit faster too, but hey, you can't have your cake, you need it too, right? Nice, somewhat stiff zoom handling. I can feel really nice feedback swinging it back and forth. Got nice handling. Some people might say it's a little too stiff, but hey, if you want to have some fun driving, this is what you want. Like the owner said, this was his compromise between speed and handling versus functionality that his wife wanted. And when we come to a stop, I agree with the owner. I love it because it doesn't have that stupid stop-start technology where you got to push the button to keep it from doing it. It just runs like a normal car. And unlike the Ford that this replaced, it doesn't leak water and it doesn't fall apart in front of your very eyes. Said about the turbo, of course, you're going to get worse gas mileage. If you drive it hard, you can see I'm ruining even his. He was averaging 20-something, but now it's only averaging 16.7 because I'm driving it like this, and it will use more gas. I like this heads-up display, so I can see that I'm doing 42 miles an hour now. I don't have to look down, keeps my eyes on the road. And compared to his other vehicle, which happens to be a Toyota Prius with like 175,000 miles on it, and really hard miles, all done in Queens in New York City, this thing rides like an absolute dream. Try doing this in a Prius, and it's not going to act up like that. At least with the older Priuses, like he has. We're going fast, I'm flooring it, and it's handling like a dream. So what do I think? Well, it is a practical, fun car. It's made in Japan. It's solid built. It handles really well. I'm not a turbo fan because I know they wear out faster and I'm a cheapskate. But it's still a reasonable size 2.5 liter engine. So it's not like some stinky little 1 or 1.3 liter tiny engine pushing it as far as it can go. They look good, they're fun to drive. Hey, and it's not leaking like his Ford did. Strangely enough, he was always a Toyota man. That's the other Prius that he has. But for some reason, he decided to buy a Ford, and he said that's probably the last Ford he'll ever buy. So he's content with it. I would be content with this car. Not phenomenal gas mileage, but decent gas mileage. Lots of space. You feel real safe inside, and it's very luxurious. So I gotta say, he made a good choice buying this instead of buying the cheaper 30 that's made in Mexico. This is made in Japan. You can feel the quality in it. That 6-speed automatic tranny shifts like a dream. I gotta say, hey, he made a wise choice. A 2020 Corolla Hatchback. If you wondered what happened to the Toyota Matrix, well, it morphed into this Toyota Corolla Hatchback. And really, other than the back being at a steeper angle so there's not as much room, it's just a modernized version of the Matrix. Upgraded and stuff. It does have less space inside because they went more for style. The big Mazda type style, instead of having a little more up forward with more room inside. Now, the guy bought this one used because he did not want a CVT transmission. He was going to buy a brand new one, and the only thing they offer is CVT. But this is a 2020. They had nice manual transmissions with 6 speeds. So that's what he got. Now today, unfortunately, all the Corollas only come in the United States with the CVT transmission. I'm not personally a fan. They're cheaper to make. Now my son has a Corolla S with the CVT, loves it. Lots of pickup, he says, gets great gas mileage. I don't like them because they are cheaper to make. I don't particularly like the way they feel. So if I had to get a new car, if somebody smashed into one of our Toyotas or a Lexus, I would be in a quandary because I really like this car. Fit a lot of stuff in it. We move back between Tennessee and Rhode Island, but I can only get it in a CVT, where that would probably make me end up buying either a RAV4 with a conventional 4-cylinder engine or a Toyota Camry with a conventional 4-cylinder engine, because they still have conventional automatic transmissions. Now you might wonder, how come those still have the automatics and these are CVTs? Well, the answer's simple, really, because the CVTs are cheaper to make and this is a less expensive car. You'll notice that more expensive cars today, most of them still have real automatic transmissions. They don't have CVT transmissions in them because the people don't like the way they feel, the way they go. And since the Toyota automatic transmissions last so long, why you'd want to switch to a CVT transmission is beyond me. But you would have no choice today. If you get a standard, it's going to have to be a used one. If you want a new one, it's going to be a CVT. Now, as far as I'm concerned, Toyota makes the best CVT transmissions in the world. But still, I just don't personally like them. They are cheaper to make, and of course, if something's cheaper to make, generally they don't last as long. They make the CVTs for better gas mileage, right? Well, this guy's got the 6-speed. If he's driving 50 miles an hour, he's gotten over 50 miles a gallon. Now, he normally drives it, like when he came here, 80, 85 miles an hour, but he's still got 41 miles a gallon because manual transmission. A CVT in one of these will not get 50-something miles a gallon. They're rated at 41. This one gets 41 going 85, but going 50, 55, they can get over 50 miles a gallon. There's a big advantage to having standard transmissions, or manual transmissions, than there is having a CVT. The CVTs, yeah, they're efficient, but only to a point. When you look under the hood, we have Toyota's modern 4-cylinder engine. It is a 2-liter engine, and it is Toyota's masterpiece of design that it's got regular fuel injectors, and it also has GDI fuel injectors. That's how this thing can get 50 miles a gallon going 55 miles an hour with a standard transmission. It puts out more horsepower than the Matrix. The Matrix is only 126, and it's a 1.8-liter engine with just conventional fuel injection. Hey, I mean, the thing is 17 years old. They certainly go forward in time. You got more horsepower, and you get better gas mileage, so you really can't beat that. Now, this is a baby. He's only got 28,000 miles on it. He bought it used. He's done nothing but change the engine oil and filter. Toyota, I had that RAV4 Prime here the other day. It had 160, and the only thing the guy changed on it was the engine oil and filter and the air filter. You know, I mean, these things are well made. There's no arguing that. Of course, when you look at the old Matrix from 07, this 2020 is quite a bit more stylish. You know, there's no arguing that. You know? Yeah, it's got a little bit smaller trunk in the back, but it's got a lot more style to it. As we look inside, it's got more comfortable bucket seats, and I personally go for plain old upholstery. This stuff will last forever. Now, as you can see, the back seat, yes, it's smaller than the Matrix. The Matrix has much more legroom because this is a little bit less squat vehicle, but don't think it's a tinny-made car. It's a pretty solid built car. As you can see, as we open the door, where was this baby made? Made in Japan. That's what you want. You get a car in this price range that's made in Japan that'll probably last 300, 400, 500,000 miles. It certainly would be a wise choice for you. Now, of course, 96% of Americans drive automatic transmissions, so most people are going to buy the CVT transmission. Like I said, Toyota does probably make the best CVT transmissions in the world. They're not like the Jatco crap that Nissan manufactures and puts in lots of other manufacturers' cars. They buy the transmissions from them, put it in their own models. They're not that Jatco garbage. They're Aisin, Toyota makes them, and they are good for what they are. They're just cheaper to make, and from my experience, they do not last as long. I have seen, like this Matrix, which really is a Toyota Corolla Matrix, right? Corollas, Camrys, automatic transmissions, 500,000 miles. All they did was change the fluid and filter every once in a while, and they were still shifting pretty good. They're gonna last a long time. Why they go to CVTs? They don't last as long. It's just a fact. You know, I mean, they don't want to build cars that last forever. Although, maybe this 6-speed manual transmission will last forever. But as I said, you can't buy them anymore. They don't sell them in the United States. They only sell the CVTs. Wonder where he found this used Toyota. He bought it at a Ford dealer. He listened to me, you know. I tell people, go to a different dealer and buy their other cars that they took as trade-ins, because they can't give you this best car in the world stuff because it was a Ford dealer. They don't want their salesmen putting down Fords because that's what their business is, right? So, hey, it's a good way to buy them. Okay, now, even the owner doesn't like to push to start, but that's what it came with, so everything is that way these days. So we will turn it on. We're not going to start it because we're going to analyze it. Detected it. Okay. We got a Toyota. Standalone diagnosis. And pretty fast because it's a new car. Now it does the topology, does all the CAN system. So as it's scanning, we'll take a look around. Now, yes, it has the electric parking brake, which I don't like, but they're all going to that crap. And it does have that screen that to me is a little intrusive. It kind of looks like they glued it in instead of building it in. It's like an afterthought. You know, they could have done a little bit better job integrating. It works fine and everything, but to me, it's kind of a distraction. And of course, it's got all the bells and whistles for intelligent cruise control. Thanks to control on your steering wheel. Nice shaped steering wheel. Little chrome and black. Black interior. Doesn't have a sunroof. It's a Corolla. It does have codes, but I don't think it's going to be much of anything because the big things are all green. The telematics. Well, let me tell you, telematics, yeah, I can tell you things about that. Too much telematics, too much of this wireless communications, and things often screw up. We'll see what this says. User all communication codes. Lost communication with body control. Missing message. Lost communication with instrument panel cluster. Missing message. Lost communication with navigation control. Module. Missing message. You get all kinds of information about that. Lost communication with body control module. The BCM is not receiving or sending a signal. The harness could be weak. Yet everything's working on this car. This is the problem with all modern cars. They have so much baloney communication going on that even a Toyota has 3 stupid little codes for lost communication. I see this all the time, more and more, even in Toyotas. It doesn't mean anything whatsoever. Now, he bought this thing used. A lot of times when they sat on the lot, if the battery got too low, guess what happens? The BCM loses communication because the voltage is too low. So it could easily been that. Now, we're just going to erase it before we take it for a road test because it easily could have been just low battery voltage. See, it erased it, so it's not a permanent code. Now, we're going to start her up. And we're going to look at data system. So here we go to the main data. 27,862 miles, so it's not lying. That's what it says here. Nobody set the odometer back or anything. Mass airflow sensor doing good. Remember, it's color coded. Red would be bad. Alternator's charging good. Gives you all the information for the electronic throttle in case it has a problem. It's all black and good data. This doesn't have any problems. Shows you the BM voltage, the module, and hey, you know, it's fine. It's not like it's running out of electricity now. I'm assuming the battery was just low from it sitting on a lot to trip those codes. See, the high side, it does have the GDI. It shows you the target fuel pressure. And it even shows you what's going on with the regular fuel injectors too, the port fuel injectors. It shows you how many grams of fuel it's using per second. And there's a lot of data on these things. And of course now it's idling, so it shows you that it's the port mode. If we were driving around, it would switch back to the GDI back and forth. It's a rather complex system, but when it's working, it works quite well. Valve timing information, that's all fine too. Shows you the temperature of the catalytic converter. Shows you that it has 0 misfire counts, which isn't surprising. These things can run forever. Information, as you can see, goes on and on and on. It even shows you the electric water pump speed, the actual speed versus the target speed, and it's pretty close. 800, 775 RPMs. Here's a lot of information. Something ever does go wrong, a guy like me with a machine like that's going to be able to pinpoint it fast. Here we go. We got to turn the parking brake off and get the interlock, put it in reverse. And although I don't like where the screen is, it's a nice big screen, so backing up is pretty easy with this thing. And as you can see here, he was driving 85 miles an hour, so we only got 41.3 miles a gallon coming here. Now here comes the test of the Rhode Island horrendous roads, all bumpy, and really, I gotta say, for a car this small, it takes these bumps pretty good. Hey, it's taking them better than the last Honda I tried out. It was a lot stiffer, and this actually has a pretty good ride. I got to admit, it probably rides about 200% better than my Matrix, which bounces all over the place, but it runs forever. Now, they've really changed the suspension on this modern one. It rides much better than the Matrix. It's much higher tech than the old one. It still handles really well, too, but it's a lot smoother ride. We're waiting for things to clear out. They're clearing out. Here we go. Yep, you heard a little rubber going there. Hey, it's a zippy little car. Realize it is a manual transmission. The CVTs are not zippy like this. Nowhere near as zippy. This is a lot more fun to drive. The manual transmission. That handles great, smooth ride, really. This thing has a range of more than 500 miles if you take it conservative. They can go a long way in between filling it up. You do not get range anxiety with this car at all. The only people who get range anxiety are the guys who own the gas stations, and they're mad because you don't stop in and buy gas very often. Well, guess what? These things sell like hotcakes because people do want little ones, and they found that out, and now they went back to making them in Japan. So at least from that perspective, these are still made in Japan. The best made cars. And for the price of these, you can get your hand on one of them. But like I said, if you don't want a CVT, you gotta get an older one because they only had the manual transmissions up to a couple years ago. Then they all went to CVTs and the Corollas. Not a fan. I mean, they're still good CVTs as far as CVTs go, but you know, I don't like them. I would either get this or I would get a RAV4 or a Camry that still has a real automatic transmission, because there's a reason they still have real automatic transmissions in those, because people like the way they drive. They still get phenomenal gas mileage. Yes, it costs more money to make an automatic transmission. They're more complex, but as far as I'm concerned, they're better than the CVTs. These things are generally anywhere from 15 to 20 grand less than the price of an average new car these days if you buy it new. So you're getting a pretty good deal if you're looking for something like this, if you can find it. A lot of the dealers are marking them up $5,000–$10,000. So if you're looking at one, you can't find it in your area. Custer in Nashville did. They wanted too much in Nashville. He looked around. He found one 10 grand cheaper in Boulder, Colorado. So he flew out there, went skiing, and came back with his new Corolla. There's nothing wrong with doing that either. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.